So just while we're waiting, this is a Zoom webinar, so none of you guys will have your cameras on or everyone's going to be muted. So I can't hear you guys, but throughout the session, this is 100% a chance for you guys to ask as many questions as you like. So please do ask questions throughout, and I'll leave plenty of time at the end for any final questions. But if you go onto Zoom, you'll see at the bottom, hopefully at the bottom or the top or somewhere on your screen where you see some of the options, there will be a question and answer option, and there will be a chat option. If you have any questions, could you please put them into the chat, into the question and answer, the Q&A box. And then Elissa, who is also part of the team, is here, and she will interrupt me as and when questions come in, and I'll try and leave a few gaps throughout the session just to see if any good questions have come in that I can answer. So I think it looks like we've got a really good number of people, so probably make a start. So thank you again, everyone, for coming along this afternoon. My name's Tom Wicksteed, and I'm the Early Careers Manager. In the Early Careers team at Mishcon de Reya, we look after all of the paralegals and the graduates and the apprenticeships. So that's obviously why we're here today. So we look after all the recruitment process, and then when you guys join Mishcon de Reya and you're on the apprenticeship, then we look after you for the kind of the duration of your program. And as I said, Elissa is here as well. He's also part of the Early Careers team. So between the two of us, hopefully we can answer lots of questions. And we've also got two of our apprentices coming along later on because rather than me droning on for an hour or so, it's much better to hear it from a real apprentice. So they will be able to answer a few questions as well. In terms of what we're trying to get out of this afternoon, I know some of you will have heard of Mishcon de Reya, some of you will have never heard of it before, so I'll give you a quick introduction to the firm. We'll talk about the 2021 apprenticeships that we've got on offer, and all the applications are currently open. We'll give you the chance to meet two of the apprentices, and then at the end, I want to make sure that we give you guys some hints and tips on what we're looking for from your application. Just a quick reminder again, for those who have just joined, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A function at the bottom, and please ask as many as you like, because that's what today's all about. This session will also be recorded, so if you guys are watching this the recorded version, then obviously you can't ask any questions, but I put our Early Careers email address down there, so it's worth just making a note of that. And please get in touch, and we're more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So a quick brief history of Mishcon. So Mishcon de Reya was set up in 1937 by this guy here, Victor de Mishcon. And he set it up in that little white building that you can see in the background there in Brixton. Those of you who live in London, you'll know Brixton. Those who don't, it's in the south of London. And now 84 years, or about 84 years later, James Libson is our managing partner. James became managing partner last year, and we're in slightly larger premises, which is in Holborn, which is near Covent Garden, so right in the centre of London. And unfortunately, most of us haven't seen that building for months and months and months, but hopefully we will be back in there soon. It's a beautiful building from the outside, and it's equally plush inside. It's a really, really nice place to work. In terms of Mishcon de Reya, we do not shy away from taking on really big, high profile cases and really interesting legal cases. I'm sure even those of you who are still at school, I'm sure most of you are watching The Crown, and you may recognize who the woman is there. That is Princess Diana. The gentleman next to her is someone called Anthony Julius, who is our deputy chairman now, but previously he was a partner. He was representing Diana during her divorce with Prince Charles. So that was a really high profile case at the time. A few years later, there was another really interesting case, which was all about someone called David Irving, who was a Holocaust denier. And there was a professor called Deborah Libstadt, and she took David Irving to court against all these Holocaust denial books that he had been writing. And we at Mishcon de Rare represented Deborah Libstadt, and it's a fascinating case. And it's so amazing and fascinating that they made a movie about it, which came out a few years ago with Timothy Spall and Rachel Weisz. And I think it's on Netflix or Amazon, one of those platforms. So if you guys do get an interview for an apprenticeship, it's a good bit of homework to watch that program before you come to the assessment day. And then more recently, you'll all recognize the guy on the right, Boris Johnson. The woman next to him is someone called Gina Miller. And this relates to two cases around Brexit. In 2016, Gina Miller challenged the government around the Brexit agreement, saying that it had Article 50, that it had to be signed off by Parliament. And later on in 2019, you guys may remember in the news, there was a lot about this word, the prorogation of Parliament, which most people had never heard that word before, but suddenly everyone was talking about it all the time. And this was challenging the government around shutting down Parliament. And we represented Gina Miller in both those cases. And it's so exciting to be working somewhere where you've got these big news stories and Mishcon representing Gina Miller there. Even more recently, this year, and a lot of it happened last year as well, during COVID, during lockdown, there were lots of small businesses that had to shut down because of the lockdown, and they claimed for business interruption insurance. So if their business was interrupted, they couldn't run their business, they wanted to claim some money from their insurers, and lots of insurers weren't paying these claims. And Mishcon represented about 300 small businesses, I think even more than 300 small businesses. And this case went all the way up through the ranks of the court system to the Supreme Court, which is what that photo is on the left-hand side. So again, that was in the news a lot. So big cases, very exciting cases that Mishcon take on. Another really exciting thing about working, certainly if you guys are going for the solicitor apprenticeship, is the breadth of departments that we have at Mishcon. So you can see here, we've got the 5 main departments: the corporate department, who work with companies, whether that's contracts, company contracts or mergers and acquisitions. They work with companies. The employment team have obviously been very busy working with clients, especially with all the furlough scheme over the last 12 months. The real estate deal with property and buying, selling residential and commercial property. The litigation team over on the right-hand side, litigation is where you take people to court. And there are lots of interesting sub-teams within that department. So we've got a team that looks after fraud and fraud defense. We've got a white-collar crime team. We've got a competition team. We've got an international arbitration team, a trademark team, and insurance. Insurance is the team that looked after that case that I was just talking about on the previous slide. And then at the bottom, we have the private department, and they work with wealthy individuals and help them with things like reputation protection. We've got an art team in the private department. We've got an immigration team. We've got a team that look after family law. So a real breadth of departments and teams. And obviously, if you're working at Mishcon, you'll get exposure to all these different teams, and it will give you a really good foundation to build your legal career on, or if we'll talk about the other apprenticeships as well. One other thing I wanted to mention is Singapore. So last year we opened the Singapore office. So we are based, as you saw before, in that building in London, but we do have a branch over in Singapore, and we really hope to be able to send our trainees and apprentices there in the future. A quick question. I don't know whether any of you guys, you can put this in the chat panel maybe, but I just wanted you guys to have a think about how many of the employees at Mishcon de Reya are lawyers. So we have about 1,000, just under 1,000 people who work at Mishcon de Reya. So put in the chat panel. I can see a few of you have already put it in, how many lawyers we've got. Let me see if I can get the chat panel up. We've got a few coming in, some very close, around half, 500, 400, 300, 500. Some of you guys are very, very close to this. So we have, let me get it up, drum roll, 60% are lawyers. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because obviously we're a law firm. It makes sense that most of the people that work here are lawyers, but that also means that nearly 400 of us, including me and Alyssa, are not lawyers. And there are so many opportunities at Mishcon de Reya for those of you who are thinking, well, maybe I don't want to be a lawyer, maybe I want to do something else. And we've got loads of apprenticeships that I'll talk about in the non-legal departments. And just to give you a flavour of how many different roles there are. Now, this is a number that came from, I think it was the recruitment agency Reed. They tried to find out how many different non-legal jobs there are in the legal sector in the UK. This is not how many jobs there are in Mishcon, unfortunately. See if you can guess how many you think there are. 80, 13, we've got 100 plus. That's a bit of a cop out. So I made 100 plus. That means you just 700. Wow, we've got loads coming through here. Right, let's get the answer, drum roll. 677 non-law jobs. Now, there are not 677 at Mishcon, I'm afraid, but there are so many different roles, whether you're in finance, whether you're in HR, whether you're in front of house, whether you're a part of the catering team in the offices, the procurement team. Like these lawyers, I mean, I can say this because I'm in HR, couldn't do their job without us. We're the ones who are supporting them, and it's a really exciting place to work, even if you are not going down the solicitor apprenticeship route. And here are a few of those departments, definitely not all of them, but just a few that I wanted to pick out. Obviously, we've got the finance team, which is a big team in Mishcon. Making sure that we're keeping track of all the numbers and how much the clients are paying us and should be paying us. We've got the HR team, which is obviously the best team because Alyssa and I are part of that. And we've got the technology. Now, technology is a big part of Mishcon, from legal tech, but also outside legal technology, and things like data science and systems and analytics, as well as our IT support function. And I'll talk a bit about that in a minute. We've got the marketing and communications teams who are busy getting our name out there. The business development team who are trying to find new clients and find new work for us. We've got the CBS team, which stands for Central Business Services. They are the multiple teams that help run everything, definitely in London, like the office team, the front of house, catering, or the delivery and postal teams, like everyone that just keeps the cogs moving at our offices. And then finally, we've got the impact team. Now, the reason I wanted to mention this is because we have a sustainability apprenticeship, which is such an exciting one for this year. And the impact team are looking after what we do and how we help the wider community, how we support the global sustainability and the sustainability of us as a corporation. And it is a really, really interesting team to work for. And there's a fascinating apprenticeship, which I will talk about in a minute. So the apprenticeships for 2021. I think the first one, I don't want to give lots of boring charts here, but just the first one is to show the growth and how much Mishcon is investing in our apprenticeships. You can see we've had various apprentices for the last few years, but definitely in the last 3 years, it has grown exponentially. The grey boxes are our business operation apprenticeships, and that means all of those support functions. And you can see they are the ones that led the way, and we've had 6 different we've had 6 apprenticeships, business operation apprenticeships last year, and we're hoping to increase that to about 8 or 9 this year as well. Now, the orange box are our solicitor apprenticeships. This is our 2nd year of running those. They're for our students who would like to become lawyers. And then the yellow box on top are what we call upskilling apprenticeships, and they are where we offer existing employees apprenticeships, and that is something that we really want to do to just to help develop our people. Now, here are our solicitor apprentices. Now, they look very serious in those photos, and it's because these were sent to us before they started, and I think some of them sent in their passport photos, but they are definitely much more smilier than they look in those photos. And Amani, who is under employment, will come in and say hello in a few minutes and tell you about her experience as a solicitor apprentice. And here are some of our smiley business apprentices, and we had 2 that joined the marketing team, Brooke and Maya, and then Lainey joined the communications team, and we've got Tanu and Jobril, who are our apprentices in the IT team. Now, we've got some more IT apprenticeships this year, but we don't have any marketing and communication apprenticeships this year because these 3 will be with us for the next couple of years. So our next round of apprenticeships in those departments will be probably 2022 or 2023. So there are some of our apprentices, and the ones that we are launching for this year are in these 5 departments. So we've got the solicitor apprentices. If I just go back a couple of slides, you can see there that we have 1 apprentice in each of our departments. So there's 5 departments that I talked about. Our departments are changing slightly shortly, and we'll end up splitting them into 6 departments. So this year we would like to bring in 6 solicitor apprenticeships. We will put them into 1 of each of the 6 departments, and then during the time that you're with us, you'll rotate and get lots of exposure to different teams. We've got technology apprenticeships, sustainability, we're part of that impact team, we've got finance, and we've got HR. So I'll just go into a bit more detail about each one. The first one is our solicitor one, and this is by far the longest apprenticeship. This is a 6-year contract. During those 6 years, as I said, you'll start off in 1 of our departments, and each year you will rotate into a different department. And then when you get to the 5th and 6th year, you will rotate every 6 months. So by the time you finish those 6 years, you'll have done 8 different what we call seats, or 8 different rotations, and you'll have a really, really good understanding of the firm. Also, at the end of those 6 years, you will be a qualified solicitor. So it will be exactly the same as if you went down the university route. So if you went and did 3 years at university and then had to do your exams after university and then had to do your 2-year training contract, that would also take around 6 years. So you will, by the end of those 6 years, you are in exactly the same position as someone who went through and studied through university. You will not be classed as a different lawyer because you went down the apprenticeship route. You will be, if anything, you will probably be more respected because you'll have worked at Mishcon for 6 years. So everyone will know you and think you're amazing. But the thing I want to talk about here is that it is 6 years. So what we're looking for here is someone who really is committed to a career in law. It is a fantastic opportunity to come and work here and get exposure to different teams and work with fantastic lawyers and study and get paid. but it is for 6 years. So we are looking for someone who is committed, who is motivated and driven, who is resilient, so can work hard. So if you think this is you, then this is an amazing opportunity. Technology. With the technology department, we have 3 apprenticeships. We have an IT, what we call an IT service desk apprenticeship. This is an 18-month contract, and you will work on the IT service desk, which is an amazing foundation of knowledge about how Mishcon works from a technical point of view, how all of our systems work. Then at the end of those 18 months, we hope to give all of our apprentices full-time roles, and then you can start specializing in whatever area of IT that you're interested in. The next one there is systems and analytics, and they are dealing with all the HR systems and the finance systems around the business and analyzing data. And this is so important to be able to help the teams, help the managers, help the partners make business decisions. So it's a really interesting role if you want to get involved in analyzing data and helping making commercial decisions to drive the business forward. And lastly, we've got data science. Now, these are, as you can see, it's a science. Like, these guys are at the forefront of data science. We have a team of about 10 or 12 at the moment, I think. And it's grown very rapidly in the last few years. Everyone is so experienced. Lots of the people in the team are professors at university, so they are an amazing support for our apprentice, and will give you such an amazing opportunity to learn all about data science. In terms of what we're looking for here, if you are someone who loves technology, who is fascinated with emerging technology, and you can show that passion, then one of those 3 apprenticeships is for you, and you're very welcome to apply to multiple apprentices if you like the sound of all of them, or 2 of them, or just one of them. We're looking for people, obviously, who have got analytical skills, who have got attention to detail. You're going to be working, especially if you're on the service desk, you will need excellent communication skills, and you will have to work individually and within a team. Elissa, feel free to butt in if there are any questions about these that are coming through. Otherwise, I'm happy to keep going.
So we've got a question about what are the IB requirements?
IB requirements, International Baccalaureate. So with our minimum grades, we have 3 Bs and it's not a minimum grade. This is our recommended grades. So this is what most of our candidates will probably apply with. However, what I would say is every single one of these apprenticeships have different minimum grade requirements from a qualification point of view. And it's really important to, if you're interested in, I don't know, the data science one, go and have a look at the job spec on our website, and that will give you the detail of the minimum grades that you need to do the qualification. So Mishcon de Reya, we don't really do minimum grades. We're very open to seeing any application. If you're passionate about technology or passionate about law, then please do apply. The only thing that's tying our hands behind our back is what the qualification minimum grades are. So I think for the solicitor apprenticeship, that's 3 Cs or equivalent. So the equivalent to 3 Cs at A level, it would be the equivalent at in IB. If you've got any more detailed questions about the specific numbers on IB, then I'm happy to just email the team and we can get back to you. But yeah, I would have a look at each one, and they've all got their minimum requirements.
Just another quick one. Is it possible to apply and join for the solicitor apprenticeship if you already have a non-law degree?
If you have a non-law degree, so we are really looking for people who are school leavers, or we had an apprentice this year who was older and had a different career, but we really are looking for people who have just left, who have done their A levels and are kind of looking for the next step. you definitely can't do the apprenticeship if you have a legal university degree. If you have a non-legal one, Alyssa, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can apply if you've got a non-legal university degree, is that right?
Yes, but I think for us, with other firms, you may be able to with a non-legal degree, but generally we are looking for candidates who haven't completed any sort of degree. If you have completed a degree, our advice would be to go down the vacation scheme route, because you effectively already spent those years doing your degree. So you don't need to kind of do the whole 6-year apprenticeship. But if you went through the graduate route, then you could go down that path and just complete it will be going on to the SQE1 and SQE2 and join the firm through that way. So that would be my advice if you do have any type of degree. But if you don't have a degree, or if you started a degree and then you decided it wasn't for you and you maybe just did a year or a couple of months and you didn't complete it, then you're really welcome to apply for the solicitor apprenticeship.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the graduate program. Like, well, obviously today is not about the graduate program, but please have a look at the website, and we've got a graduate page which got lots of FAQs on there, and hopefully we'll answer all of those questions. But yeah, if you do have any follow-up questions, as we said at the beginning, please feel free to get in touch with the team. I'm happy to answer those questions. Right, I'll keep going with some of the other apprenticeships. So the next one is this new apprenticeship for 2021, which is our sustainability apprenticeship. And the qualification here is corporate responsibility and sustainability. So anyone out there who has a passion for, making a difference in the world and sustainability and corporate responsibility, it's just such an amazing opportunity to be part of this team. You will sit with the corporate impact team, and you will also work with Mishcon Purpose. Mishcon Purpose is a legal team that was launched last year, headed up by someone called Alexander Rhodes, and they look after clients and all of their any advice they need around ESG, so environmental, social and governance issues. But the apprentice will sit with the corporate impact team. And just this year, we launched our sustainability strategy. And that's one of the main thing on there is that we are going to be net carbon zero this year. So not in however many years' time, we are committing to doing it right now, going forward, being net carbon zero. And they are looking for someone who is really passionate about environment, about environmental issues, around social issues. You will have to be proactive. It's not a big team. So you will need to be someone who's got very good organizational skills, good attention to detail, excellent communication skills, because you will be working with all corners of the firm and right up to the top and working with the senior partners. So it's an incredible opportunity to make a difference, to really make a difference to what Mishcon does and what its impact is in the wider community. Finance, we have 2 finance apprenticeships this year. They're 18-month apprentices. They will sit within, there are lots of different teams within finance, and what will happen is the apprentice will sit in one of those finance teams, and depending on which team you sit in, there will be 2 potential qualifications. You may go down the business administration qualification, which is like a mini MBA, or the assistant accountant, which is if you are going to go down the kind of chartered accountancy or the accountancy qualifications. But it's an amazing team, really fast paced, lots of work going on all the time. If you are someone who's dynamic, driven, attention to detail, likes working with numbers and spreadsheets, enjoys being analytical and problem solving, then it's an amazing opportunity to join that team. And then finally, HR, the best team in Mishcon. And As an apprenticeship, it will be incredible. It's a rotation structure. So we have teams that look after recruitment. We have teams that look after early careers, my team. We've got the academy, which is all about learning development. We've got salary and benefits team. We've got the wellbeing team. And we've got the HR advisory team. You will have exposure to all of those teams over the 18 months. You will do your level 3 HR support qualification, which is part of the CIPD qualification. And really, with HR, it's all about working with people. So if you love working with people and you love supporting them, helping them develop, then this could be a really be the right opportunity for you. So there are our main apprenticeship programs for this year. As you can see, it's a really broad range. Only one of them was for lawyers. And I know we got 6 roles there, but all the others are in our non-legal departments. And there's so many opportunities. And if you are, still deciding whether you want to be a lawyer or something else, then definitely look at these other opportunities as well. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about here was support, because some of you may be leaving school and this is your first job, and we definitely recognize that. And what we want to do is support you as much as possible. And you can see here are some of the things that we do. So everyone will have a sponsor. A sponsor is someone senior in the firm who will mentor you throughout your time at Mishcon. If you're a solicitor apprenticeship, that will be a partner. And if you are a business operation apprenticeship, that will be one of the senior managers in those teams. You will have a supervisor or a manager, and they will look after you on a day-to-day basis and tell you what you need to be doing. And they're there to help if you've got any questions. You'll have a buddy who will be another apprentice who is in the year above or a few years above, just to help you. They've been through it. They're there to help you and give you any guidance. We really try to create a team, a cohort every year. We get all of our apprentices to join at the same time. So you all get to know each other and you can create this support bubble, even if you're in different departments, like you're there for each other. And even whilst people have been working remotely, we've made sure that they've had WhatsApp groups, and we've given them, they had cream tea a few weeks ago, an opportunity to catch up. So we're really trying to give that kind of social side of it. And as soon as we're back in the office, obviously there'll be lots of other social opportunities. The early careers team is Alyssa and myself, and Divya is also in the team, but she's not here today. We're here to support you from an HR point of view. We are always, door is always open. If you have any questions, if we can do anything else to support you, we are here to help. And we've got the academy. The academy is the in-house learning and development team. So they have a huge number of courses that's open to everyone, whether that's legal courses or professional development courses. We also put on specific courses for apprentices. They run in these inductions. So you have a week-long induction when you first join, and the academy will be running that and teaching you all the skills that you need to succeed at Mishcon. So you are not alone. It may seem daunting coming and working at a big law firm, but you are definitely not alone. And you can see here we've got numerous people that you can reach out to if you've got any concerns or any questions. Now, I know that our apprentices I saw Amani had come on a few minutes ago. So just before I bring Amani in, Alyssa, were there any other questions that popped up?
Yeah, so there's a couple about whether we'll be working from home full-time or back in the office, and kind of moving to London or commuting. So we probably, after COVID's finished, we will be working a bit more flexibly. However, we really see the benefit in our trainees and apprentices being in the office and being able to be around their supervisor and their other people in their team to really learn from them. So with our apprentices and trainees, we would be encouraging all of them to go in probably as much as possible so they can really have that kind of on-the-job learning around people. But that being said, we do also see that the world's changed, and there is a need to be more flexible. So for those that have asked about, commuting or moving to London, there is a season ticket loan if you did want to commute. A couple of our apprentices have moved to London for the apprenticeship, and it would probably be just depending on where you lived and how easy it was to get into London. But you would be expected to come in at least a few times each week during the apprenticeship.
Just one other thing to note, to mention on there, Alyssa, is that the solicitor apprentices will be studying with the University of Law, and the University of Law can help their students find accommodation in London. And a lot of the time that will be with other students, other apprentices, or like university students, because living in London is expensive. But if you go to some of the kind of university accommodation, it is more affordable. For the non-solicitor apprentices, we are very happy to help point you in the direction, and I'm sure the University of Law, we've got a really good relationship with them, so I'm sure they'd be very happy to support anyone that did want to move to London. And yeah, we've had apprentices that have moved here from all sorts of different corners of the country, and some of them do already lived in London or kind of the outskirts of London. So yeah, very happy again to have a conversation if anyone's got any specific questions around that. Were there any other questions, Alyssa, or should we?
So just a question around certain apprenticeship programs like technology, will they take place entirely on the job, or will there be online work too? So with all of the apprenticeships, there will be 20% of your time will be spent kind of doing the learning side, and then the other portion will be working on the job. You'll definitely have training, and you'll learn while you're working on the job, but you will have that 20% to make sure that you can study for the actual apprenticeship, and some of that will be online.
Yeah, I think it's it's something I should have emphasized at the beginning. Like all these apprenticeships, the beauty of an apprenticeship is that you get to get the qualification, you get to do the studying, and you get to work and get paid. If you go to university, I went to university and had an amazing time, but it's not for everyone. And the cost of university now means that you can come out with potentially quite a lot of student debt, whereas if you went down the apprenticeship route, if you felt it was for you, then right from day one you're being paid a salary, you are being given a fixed term contract for 18 months all the way up to 6 years, depending on which apprenticeship you apply for, and we will pay for all of your studying as well. And like Alyssa said, we will make sure that around 1 day a week you will be given that time off, and you won't be pestered by your supervisor or manager. Like, they respect that day that you have off to be able to study. And yeah, as Alyssa said, like a lot of it is online at the moment, but maybe that's a good time to bring in Amani. Amani, are you? Oh, there we go. I can see at the bottom. Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so patient and waiting.
No, it's okay.
So Amani is one of our solicitor apprentices who started last year. Everyone's seen your picture a few slides earlier, Amani, and you're in the employment team. But yeah, I mean, over to you. If maybe you could just tell people your journey and why you decided to be an apprentice.
Yeah, so I finished sixth form last summer, and we finished quite early actually because of the lockdown. But I originally didn't really know what a solicitor apprenticeship was, because it is a fairly new program. So my teacher had actually told me about it. My head of sixth form, he's sort of like our career advisor too. And I initially planned on going to university, but mainly because I thought that was the only route. I wasn't aware, you could qualify as a solicitor through an apprenticeship program. So once I found out about it, I found out pretty late about it actually. It was like, I think a couple of weeks before the deadline. So I'm glad like I found out in time. But I think it was such a good opportunity. And for me, I personally found it was so much better than university, because we found out whether we got the apprenticeship or not late because of the pandemic. So I did actually attend university as a backup option, just in case I didn't get the apprenticeship. And so I do know what it's sort of like to go to university, even if I was there for a short time. And I would definitely recommend the apprenticeship because, well, there's so many reasons I can list. You get so much experience. I think the first 4 years, because you have a year in each department, it really does help. You're not so much as thrown into it, as I feel like some of the trainees I've spoken to, they've said that they also agree that the apprenticeship program is so good because you're putting into the sort of working environment right before anyone else. So nobody really expects you to know anything straight away, and they can really help you grow and learn and stuff like that. So that's been really helpful. I've never felt like scared or anything. I was nervous, so I won't lie, but yeah, I've settled in really well. So I went to university for however long, and I really do prefer the apprenticeship program instead. When I was in sixth form, I did English, literature, history, and economics. I think some people say that's like an unusual combination, but I just did what I enjoyed. And I know that law doesn't really have, like, you don't need to do specific subjects anyway, just do, what you enjoy, and then your skills will develop regardless of whatever subject you do. So I joined in October last year, and I think it's gone really, really well. So I have a day off once every week to do my studying, and for the sort of balance between work and uni, I feel like it's not as scary as it'd be. It's not too much work. When I first joined, that was a concern because I didn't know how it would sort of pan out, like me working and studying at the same time. But I feel like you're so much more guided with the apprenticeship program, because as we're with the University of Law, we get all the resources you need. So like, I think we get our videos, we get all our books for free, the reading, and yeah, we have a skills coach assigned to us as well as just someone in the university we can talk to about studying. So that's been really well.
That's great. And what was it like joining virtually at the beginning?
Actually, because we never had like our sort of interviews in the office, everyone always spoke about the office. So at first I was pretty like, I wanted to see the office. And I did actually go in one day when I joined, like, I think it was literally the day before the second lockdown. It was so nice to see the office. It's really, really nice. But aside from that, I think that's the only downside to working from home, is if you haven't seen the office before, you just want to know what it's like. But aside from that, I love working from home. So in my department, we do like team catch-ups every week. My supervisor puts in like a meeting for us every week near the end, so we always have time to talk, and we do like department meetings and stuff like that. So I don't think, the only thing is you're not seeing anyone in person, but it's never like you feel like you're alone or anything like that. So it has been really nice.
If you have any questions or you're not sure about what to do, like what's your kind of like default? Who do you get in touch with?
I think I'd get in touch with either my supervisor, and there's someone in the my department. I have like a buddy. You have a buddy outside of your department too that the academy assign you. So that's nice as well. I can always ask her. And I always have someone I'm working with like on a day-to-day basis aside from my supervisor. And she always helps. I don't think there's ever been a time where I was like, I don't know who to ask. I've always had someone to go to. And I can also go to other apprentices too. So yeah.
That's brilliant. And could you give us an idea? I'm sure like people would just be interested, like what's a day in the life of an apprentice like? Like what have you been doing today or this week?
It's actually so different. Like today, this morning, I got to attend a hearing and take note. It was a long hearing, but it was so interesting. Again, if you took the university route, I doubt I'd ever be able to sit in on a hearing and take notes. So yeah, so it's really different. I can't say day to day because it's genuinely so different, but usually I do like billing, taking note of client calls or hearings, drafting whatever documents, legal documents, obviously not by myself. I'm always supervised by someone. So that's nice to have because I know I'm not on my own. And yeah, I'd say it's really different. Like there's so many things I've done so far, so it's never boring or anything. It's like perfect balance.
That's amazing. And I know you just briefly mentioned about the University of Law, but like how does that work from like a standard week? How would that week pan out in terms of like having a webinar and big set work and having that day off and maybe speaking to your coach or something?
So when we first joined, we had an initial meeting with our skills coach. I think with the skills coach, you have a meeting with her like 4 times a year, but I speak to her like a lot. Like I'm pretty sure I emailed her like last week. So it's never like you can only speak to them then. And then the way I do it is, so you get a unit every week, an assignment to do your SUT, and you have your study day to do that. But what I do, I just like do all the reading throughout the week, so it's not all in one day. Like I've never had no time after work from like Monday to Thursday. Friday is my study day, so Monday to Thursday I've never had like no time right after work. I've always had plenty of time to do whatever I need to do to prepare for uni or just like other stuff. And then on Friday, I'd probably just do my SUT then, and then I'd submit it. And then that's sort of how it works. And then we just recently had our mock. So it wasn't a proper exam, it was just a mock, but the university gave us like a break from an SUT a week. So I think we got like around 2 weeks for that. So yeah, I assume from the exam, we'd get the same amount of time too. So I don't think the workload's too much.
That's really cool. And just talk about the skills coach. I guess if you went to university, people would have like a tutor that would be the person that you'd go to, right? So they're kind of the equivalent of university tutor, and but it's a one-to-one relationship. Like you can call them up and say, look, I don't understand this bit of the
so we also get a tutor. So we have our skills coach, and then we also have a tutor for our module. And yes, she marks like our SUTs. And again, I probably saw it. I think I emailed her yesterday about a question. I don't think just because we're not at university every day, there's no like distance or anything. I think we are all comfortable enough to ask. And we also have someone else from the university. I think her name's Elizabeth, and she helps us too. So like there's so many contacts at the university we have.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Marnie. What is the first thing you're going to do after lockdown? What are you most looking forward to doing once we get out of this?
Going out, doing something, not just staying at home. I think right now during the weekend, I'm just like, okay, time to watch some TV. I don't know, but I'd rather go outside for once and do something.
Oh, it'd be so good. I can't wait.
Can I ask a couple of questions from the chat, if that's all right?
Yeah.
So one question is, what has been the most challenging aspect of the Solicitor Apprenticeship Programme?
Don't know actually. I think one of the most challenging things is maybe it's a new programme, so we're not too sure what we're meant to do. But then again, with the university, again, they've assigned us like another apprentice from another firm, and she was like a first year cohort for her firm too. And so we were able to speak to her other apprentices at the university for other firms. So we don't have like no information at all. But yeah, I'd say that's been the most challenging, but it's not really that challenging.
Thank you. And do you feel like you have a good work-life balance?
Oh yeah, no, I don't think I've ever had work go over like from 9:30 to 5:30, maybe a couple of days, but only by like 20 minutes or so. I think there's always time to do whatever you need to do outside of work, and whoever you work with, so my supervisor or anyone in the department, they gave me anything to do, and it was like 7 o'clock on a Friday. They'd always be like, do it for Monday or do it next week. They'd never expect you to do anything else. So.
And the last question, are there any key things to buy before the apprenticeship?
To buy? Like,
yeah,
from the shops?
Pens, yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking.
No. I actually didn't know this, but on the first day I went into the firm, they gave me like so many stuff. They gave us a tour, and then they were like, oh, we'll give you some presents. They gave me like so many pens, books, a water bottle actually. And even before I actually joined the firm, they gave me all my equipment. So like the computer I'm using now. And they even gave me like gel pads for my wrists. I would never afford that. So I don't think you'd have to buy anything.
Amazing. I think that's it. Thanks,
Marnie. The next section is all about like hints and tips. What would your top tips be to any students applying for an apprenticeship?
I think put effort into it. Like, it seems obvious, but I definitely think put effort into it, like researching, not just for to be successful, but for yourself too, because you want to know if you want to be at a firm for 6 years or not. So I think research the firm and just be prepared, but don't be too pressured. Just be yourself as well at the same time. And yeah, I think you'll do okay.
Marnie, thank you so much for coming along. It's been, hopefully, I'm sure it's been really helpful for the students. I think that Ethan's had technical problems. Is that right, Alyssa? I don't know whether Ethan's on. That's a shame. Well, we'll keep an eye out, and if he manages to get on, we can always ask him questions later on. But Marnie, thank you so much. Feel free to log off and carry on with the rest of your stuff for today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I hope that was useful to everyone listening, and if you do have any other questions that you'd like us to ask Amani, then again feel free to email and get in touch with the team. We can always pass the question on and get a response from Amani if you realize that you wanted to ask something and it's now too late. So we've got, how long have we got? It's 5:02. So I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about the application process and giving a few hints and tips for those of you who are applying this year. And then we'll leave some time at the end for any final questions. So I guess the first thing to say is the process itself. It's a 3-stage process. So we'll start off with an application form. Now, the application form is similar to a CV, as in we'll ask you about your academics, we'll ask you about any work experience you've done, we'll ask you about any kind of interests or hobbies or other qualifications, but you complete that through the Mishcon website. So if you go onto the Mishcon website, maybe Alyssa, actually you could pop the link in on the chat panel, so where the apprenticeship pages are. If you go to the apprenticeship pages, which is under the Join Us drop down, you can see all the different apprenticeships, and if you click on that, you can apply. If you go onto that application form, you don't have to finish off, don't have to complete it all in one go. You can start it and then save it and come back later on. So don't worry, half the battle is just starting. So you can go on and you can just put in all the basic things like any grades and stuff like that, and then come back and answer the kind of longer questions at a later date. You'll see, there are questions that we ask about, if you're going for the solicitor apprenticeship, why law? So have a think about, like, why is it? Why do you want to be a lawyer? We'll ask questions about why you want to be an apprentice. And we'll probably ask, if you're going for IT, what interests you about IT, or what interests you about sustainability, or what interests you about HR. So that is a kind of a longer section for you to write a longer answer, but I would definitely recommend, like, take your time over it. Make sure that check for spelling mistakes. Nothing worse than seeing spelling mistakes on an application form. But that is the first stage. Once you finish your application form, if you're progressing through to the next stage, we will let you know, and the next stage will be a video interview. Now, this is not a traditional two-way interview. This is a one-way interview. So we'll send you a link, and we'll give you a week to answer 3 questions. And what will happen is you'll go onto the link, and as long as you've got a webcam, you will be given a question. You'll be given 1.5 minutes to think about your answer, and then you'll have 1.5 minutes to record it. And then that comes back to us. And then from that, we reduce the numbers down to the final group that we will invite to the assessment day. And that will be the best part of a day. And during that, we will give you some group exercises to do with the other candidates. We'll give you some written exercises. We'll ask you to do a more traditional interview with some members of the team that you're applying to join. And yeah, each of those assessment days will be slightly different, but it's a 3-stage process. In terms of date, so this is today, the event day, 25th of March. We have 2, so all our applications are open at the moment, but there are 2 closing dates. If you are applying for the solicitor apprenticeship, you have another week to apply. So it's the 1st of April at the end of Thursday, so around 5 o'clock, close of play next Thursday, then those applications will close. So if you're going for that solicitor apprenticeship, please make a start this weekend or even sooner. If you're going for any of the other apprenticeships, they will stay open a bit longer. They'll stay open until the 12th. So you've got about 2.5 weeks. But definitely it's much better to get on with them, start your applications, and you can take your time over it and make sure you're really happy rather than leaving it to the last minute. Once they've closed, we'll then get in touch with everyone and let you know whether you've made it through to the video interview stage. And we'll give you a week to complete that, and then we'll get back in touch about the assessment date. So that will happen throughout April and the beginning of May. And then by the end of May, we are planning to have made all of our offers to our successful candidates. So by the end of May, you will know whether you've got the job. And then you've got the summer to enjoy the freedom after lockdown. And then you'll start at Mishcon in October. So we put the 4th of October, but that date may change a little bit, but that's what we're aiming for, the beginning of October. And we'll make sure that we keep in touch with you, and we'll put on some events and in between the May and October time. So that's the timeline that we're talking about. And as soon as you start, you go straight into a week-long induction where you get to meet lots of different people from the firm, and you'll go on lots of courses, and you'll learn all about your job and your role. Now, I just put this slide in because I want to just talk about those of you who are still not 100% sure, especially if you're looking at some of those different non-legal apprenticeships. When I've been asked this at other events, I normally talk about the obvious things, like think about your strengths and weaknesses. What are you analytical? Are you good with people? Are you good with numbers? You good at communication? So think about your strengths and your weaknesses and which ones would tie into those apprenticeship programs. Remember, this is being recorded, so you can go back and look at those slides where I talk through each one of the programs, and I put some strengths and weaknesses, or strengths that we'd be looking out for. Another thing that you can think about is your career values. So like, what is important to you with your career? Lots of people may say, I just want to make loads of money, but that's fine. But if you want to make lots of money, are you also willing to like work long hours, or is it really important for you to have work-life balance because you've got loads of passions and hobbies outside work that you want to make sure you've got time for? So it's really important for you to think about what is important, what are your career values. Is it earning a high salary? Is it work-life balance? Is it all about making a difference, helping others, the opportunity to travel? Is it all about career progression? Do you just want a job where you're challenged? It could be all of those, and there could be like hundreds of other values, but it's definitely worth just spending, you know, a bit of time thinking about what you want from your career, which I appreciate is quite hard when you're just at school, but you can at least think about what you can imagine in the next few years your career looking like. Some of you I know are not applying this year, and you're in year 12. And I think the most important thing that, or the tips that I would give you guys, and if you're in year 11 or 12, is all about building your CV up. And I know it's been hard in the last 12 or so months with COVID and not having the opportunity to get, you know, summer jobs or weekend jobs. But it's really important to try and demonstrate what your interests are and what your strengths are. So the first one I put there was diligence. And look, great grades do matter. You know, it's important to work hard at school and keep working hard, keep striving for the best grades that you can get. It's not everything. We're looking at the big picture. We're looking at you as a whole, not just grades. And we, as Alyssa said earlier, we certainly don't filter people out if they don't have 3 Bs. If you have like 3 Cs or B and 2 Cs or something like that, then please still feel free to apply. But yeah, year 12, keep focusing on your work and your studies. We're looking for people who are passionate. And it doesn't matter what it's in. You don't have to be passionate. You don't have to be obsessed with being a lawyer since you were 8 years old to do the solicitor apprenticeship. But we do like people who are passionate about things, whether that's sport or drama or reading or writing. Or we have someone who applied who wrote lots of poetry and had done like poetry slams, and they're just passionate about it. And that's amazing, because we don't want people who are just all interested in the same thing. We want people who come from different backgrounds, who've got different interests and different passions, but we do want people who you know, have an interest and really pursue it. And I think that links on to the next one, which is being proactive. We want people who are kind of go-getters and who, if they're interested in something, they will find a way to do it, whatever their passion is. We look for people who are proactive at Mishcon. We have okay, so MDR, Mishcon Technology, which is called MDR Tech, which is all of our like the artificial intelligence, blockchain, that legal team. That is headed up by someone called Tom Grogan. Now, Tom was an associate. Now, an associate, the kind of general hierarchy in law firms is you start off as an apprenticeship or trainee, then when you qualify, you become an associate, then a managing associate, then a kind of legal director, and then a partner. So on the hierarchy, Tom was not at the top. He was not some senior partner, but he was really passionate about technology, really passionate about artificial intelligence, and he was really proactive. And he said, I think, Mishcon, we need to do more around technology. And he drove that forward. And now he is heading up this department. And this is someone who was passionate about something and was proactive about going out there and telling people about his idea. And now he's kind of heading up that department. Now, I'm not saying everyone here has to have an idea and head up a department, but it's that attitude and that kind of character that we really value here. And the last one is awareness. And I guess that is just aware of what is going on in the world that you are applying for. If you're interested in going for the solicitor apprenticeship, are you aware of what's going on in the legal industry at the moment? Are you following cases? Are you aware of what the changes have been to the legal sector since COVID? If you're going for the sustainability one, do you know about all the issues that are happening at the moment around environmental issues and social issues? If you are going for IT or one of the technology ones, are you aware of what's happening in that space, in that world? Like what are the kind of emerging technologies that could affect a business? So having that awareness, reading in reading around the topic or the industry that you're applying for. So think about those 4 things, and that should mean that by the time you apply next year, you'll have a really, really good application form and a really good CV that will stand you in really good stead, whatever application or whatever apprenticeship you go for. And then I also want to just do a few hints and tips for the year 13s or those who are applying this year. Now, the thing that I always talk about is authenticity and just being yourself. So Alyssa and I and Divya have to look through hundreds of applications every year. And it does not take long to spot those applications where people are just writing what they think we want to hear. And it's not genuine and they're just trying to sound impressive. Those people who are really interested in something and really passionate about law or really passionate about technology, like that genuine passion will come through. So be yourself, and it doesn't matter. Like we want, as I said earlier, we want people who have got different interests, different backgrounds. It doesn't matter. Don't feel like you have to be a certain type of person to work at Mishcon. We want to understand about what you are, because I think that's the challenge from an application form, is that we'd love to meet you all and go for a coffee and get to know you, but obviously we can't. So the application form is all you've got to tell us about you as a person. So the next thing I would say is make sure you put in all your achievements and experiences. If you I don't know, did some like a holiday job or a weekend job, and you worked in a local shop or a cafe or McDonald's or something like that, and you're thinking, well, that's got nothing to do with being a lawyer, I won't put that down. Like, don't do that. Please put it down, because every job that you will have done, you will have picked up skills that will be relevant to your role. If you'd worked in a cafe or McDonald's or something like that, you would have been dealing with customers every day. You'll have, which is so important, working in a law firm, you're dealing with clients all the time. You'll have built up your communication skills. So every single job, every single experience you have, you will have built up skills. So tell us about everything, even if you think it's not relevant to the role. Going back to like which role you apply for, you've got to be able to convince yourself that you want to be a lawyer. If you're writing, like if the question says, why do you want to be a lawyer? If you can't even convince yourself in your answer, chances are you won't convince us. So make sure you are applying for an apprenticeship that you really are interested in. Don't just do the scattergun approach and just apply for all of them. And maybe go and, get your parents or your siblings or some friends to go and read your application and say, like, does that convince you? Like, do you think it comes across that I'm passionate about this? Because you've got to be able to convince us that you want this, because some of these apprenticeships are competitive. There are lots of people after them. Research Mishcon. There's nothing worse than when you can see that someone has applied to 40 different apprenticeships and they've just copied and pasted into every single one. And there's nothing to suggest they actually care about working at Mishcon. I would definitely recommend you pick a few companies, or you pick the apprenticeships within Mishcon that really stand out. You do your research, you understand what that Mishcon's all about, you understand what that department does, and that will really help you with your application form, and you will be asked about it at your interview. You'll be asked about Mishcon, you'll be asked about why you want to apply for that apprenticeship. And you can find that. You can go onto our website, you can look at the job spec, you can Google us, there's loads of stuff about us in the news. You can email us if you've got any questions, but do your research, because that will really make a difference and make you stand out. And finally, those of you who are successful and progress through to the video interview and the assessment day, lots of people always ask, like, how do I prepare for a video interview, or how do I prepare for an assessment day? And I'd say, firstly, do the research, which I just said above. But secondly, with interview questions, with that interview, the video interview, we're not asking trick questions here. They're all, questions that you would expect to be asked. So sit down and prepare and plan for those interviews. Like, put yourself in the shoes of us. Like, what would we want to know about you? You can go onto Google, you can see loads of websites give you kind of lots of interview questions. Start writing some of them down and think about your answers and link it back to your application form. So that would be my top tip. Just prepare those interview questions, pretend that you were the interviewer. What would you ask yourself? And research Mishcon. So there are my top tips. Finally, like, what are we looking for? Who are we looking for? I kind of feel like I've talked about this a bit today. We are not looking for just a bunch of people who look the same, sound the same, have the same interests, have the same backgrounds. We want to have people from all sorts of different walks of life, from different backgrounds, with different passions, with different interests. So, you know, it just goes back to like, be yourself. Do not feel that you don't belong at a place like Mishcon because you're like, oh, it seems a bit scary, it's a big law firm. Like, we will support you, we're there for you. We've got other apprentices who are there to support you guys, and we want people from we want people with great personalities and great, you know, individuals. So please do not feel like, you know, you shouldn't apply. This is something that is open to absolutely everyone. And I think I have talked for long enough. So I just want to open it up, really. I hope that's answered some of your questions. And if you guys have any other questions, please do ask. Alicia, I don't know whether any others have come in.
Yeah, we've got quite a few. So how many candidates will we be having on the assessment days?
The assessment days, we try to have a maximum of 10 people on an assessment day. If we've had loads of applications for a particular role, like the solicitor apprenticeship, as we're a law firm, often has more applications than some of the others, we may put on multiple assessment days, but probably about 10 for each one.
And what will they involve?
So the assessment day will be different for every single apprenticeship, because we'll be testing the skills and the attributes that you need for that department. But generally speaking, there will be an interview, probably like a half-hour to 40-minute traditional interview, which will be you with probably one of us or someone from HR and like a manager or like one of the managing, like a partner or someone from the team that you're applying for. So you have the interview. There will be a group assessment. That's a really nice way for you to get to know each other as candidates, and for you, you'll be given a challenge or a task, and it's all about like, how do you work together as a team to get to a solution? How do you work individually within that team? And then there will be a number of written assessments. So if it's, I don't know, finance, it may be something around like numbers or spreadsheets. And if it's with, I don't know, last year we had like communications and marketing, so they had to kind of write up some mock-up marketing pieces for us. And we'll also give you the opportunity to ask questions and meet people from the team and meet the recruitment, me and Alyssa and Divya again, and ask any questions. So we want to try and make it an opportunity for us to test you, but also for you to meet us and make sure that you're happy that Mishcon is the right place for you to work out.
I think Ethan might have just joined, so we might be able to.
Ethan, you made it.
Hi,
Hiya.
Ethan.
Hiya.
Sorry, a bit late.
No, don't worry. It's brilliant timing. We're just getting to the end now, so all those questions, Alyssa, we can just ask Ethan now. Ethan is or was one of our IT apprentices and graduated last year. So Ethan's been through the whole process, and at the end of it got offered a permanent role, and now you have gone off into kind of a different specialist area, haven't you? So Ethan, maybe you could, I guess the key things that people would be interested in hearing about is kind of what you did at school, like why you decided to do an apprenticeship, and then what's it been like being an apprentice at Mishcon?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, I'm Ethan. I'm 21. as Tom says, I am a former IT apprentice at Mishcon, and now I have taken a full-time role on at Mishcon. I initially was working on the service desk at Mishcon, and I've now progressed onto a short-term secondment as a quality assurance tester. So I went to school in Enfield in North London, and I studied physics, chemistry, and further maths, which is completely different to IT. You don't expect, when you do those three subjects, to go into IT. I actually did a year at Imperial College doing physics as a degree, but it honestly became too much for me, and I decided I need to change. After that, to me, really, the apprenticeship was a logical choice because I had a few friends that were already doing IT apprenticeships, and I saw the amount of experience and the skills that they were gaining, and also the fact that they were getting qualifications at the same time, physical qualifications that could be used to apply for future jobs, all useful skills that would come in very useful in the IT field. Initially, I went about applying for a lot of apprenticeships when I was contacted by QA. I believe it was through Mishcon, specifically for this apprenticeship. And I did a little bit more research on Mishcon, and I decided it sounded like the perfect place for me to do my apprenticeship at, because it seemed to be the sort of place where I could really easily fit in. Everyone knew everyone. It was a really friendly atmosphere across the board. But yeah, it became really easy to settle in, and that just made it so much easier to complete my apprenticeship and gain those qualifications I would get, well, throughout the apprenticeship program. Everyone was really supportive across the board in the IT team. I never really had any problems with anyone across the team. It was probably the best place I could possibly do my apprenticeship in IT. I know Tom wanted to give you guys a few tips on the application process, and I just wanted to add to that. So I would definitely say, again, be yourself as much as possible. That is the main thing that will present you as a suitable candidate for the apprenticeship. And also be enthusiastic. Why are you excited about what you've done in the past, and why are you excited about what you can achieve in the future? All of those combined, I believe, will present yourself well to them and give yourself a high chance of getting in, I'd say. But yeah, other than that, best of luck.
Thanks, Ethan. Alyssa, are there any questions that people have asked that Ethan may be able to answer, or are they all kind of recruitment-y questions?
They're more recruitment-y questions.
That's fine. Ethan, I just have one question, because I talked earlier about how with the IT apprenticeship, you start off in the IT service desk and you kind of build up your, the foundation knowledge of how all the systems work at Mishcon, and then after it you can start specializing. So can you just talk a little bit about what the options are, like which direction could you go if you wanted, once you've finished your apprenticeship and you wanted to go and specialize in different areas of technology?
So when you're on service desk, you would start at the first line level, which is the basic support level, and then you can move up to second line level. And then once you've reached second line level, you wouldn't even necessarily move up to second line level. You could then branch out to different teams and specialize in different subjects. For example, we have our infrastructure team, we have our EUC team, which deals with our software deployment rather. We have our development team, which deals with software development. We have the QA team, or quality assurance team, which I am currently working in. They deal with bug testing all the programs that will be deployed. And there's the projects team also, which acts as an extension to the development team, which helps with general IT projects, I'd say. And
I guess maybe the cyber team as well is that
the cyber team, yeah. I should mention them as well, actually, because that's the one I'm most interested in. Yes, there's also the security team, the internal security team in the IT department, and there is also MDR cyber team, which deals with more client-sided security issues. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Loads of opportunity once it's a really good foundation to start off on the service desk, but then Absolutely. If you're interested in cybersecurity or like software development, like those opportunities will come later down the line. So it's a big team. The technology, it's a big department, the non-legal technology team and the legal technology team. like if you're interested in technology, it's definitely a really interesting firm to work at. Ethan, thank you so much. Really appreciate
it. Have one quick question, Ethan, if you've got time, Ethan.
Yep.
Someone's asked, how do you manage your work? Do you get most of it done on your study day back when you were an apprentice, or did you have to work evenings or at the weekend?
So in terms of the apprenticeship work, when it was for the courses, we were given time off while the courses were going on to prepare for the tests and well, any extra time we might need. In terms of the other times you might need for your coursework, you were given 1 day off a week. So if you had a day off that week, you could work on your portfolio, for example, or you could work on your synoptic project. I never ran into any problems with in terms of time with managing my time in the projects I had to go through. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thanks for answering that one.
Thanks, Ethan. Feel free to log off if you've got to get on with work.
Thanks, Ethan.
So yeah, I'm conscious. I know people have got to get home after school and stuff. So yeah, maybe we've got time for another few questions. Alyssa, if you've got any.
Yeah. So let me just have a look through. We've got a few questions around the salaries for the roles.
So the salaries haven't been confirmed for this year. Last year, our apprentices started on 20,000. So that's a benchmark of where what you'd be expecting. And that was across the board. All of our apprentices start on that. And then obviously, as you progress through, you would get salary increases throughout, depending on performance and how long you're with the firm for.
And then a question on, do we offer work experience placements or opportunities to shadow?
We are redesigning our work experience programme this year. So we're hoping to offer a number of work experience. It'll probably be work experience days or maybe a couple of days later on this year. So what I would suggest is if you're specifically interested in it, then email the team. So that we know and we can email you when we got the dates. Otherwise, keep an eye on the website, and as soon as we've got those work experience dates, we'll update the website so you can apply.
And then how soon after the application deadline will they know kind of when they're moving, whether they were successful for the next stage, and then roughly how long after each stage will they find out if they're successful or not?
So we will try and get in touch with everyone after when the application's closed, just saying thank you, we've received it and we'll be in touch. And then I would say we're trying to look at some of the application forms now. So if you apply now, you may hear from us sooner, but I would say we try and turn things around within a couple of weeks. But if you haven't heard from us and you're wondering, then you can always get in touch.
And then what are the biggest challenges facing Mishcon right now, and how will the firm aim to grow in the next 5 years?
Wow, we've got a 10-year plan and we're about halfway through. So our 10-year plan is all around a lot of it's around technology and innovation. And so I think in terms of the challenges for Mishcon, I think obviously COVID and how COVID will affect the firm and the legal industry, and how we can make sure that we offer flexible working for all of our staff and make sure that works still for all of our clients, is a very immediate challenge that we're trying to deal with. How that affects the legal industry more widely, I think there are going to be some big changes that COVID will it's kind of fast forwarded changes that have been slowly evolving over the last few years. But I think technology will be one of the biggest changes in innovation, and it's definitely an area that we really focus on at Mishcon, and it's a real growth opportunity. So yeah, I think without wanting to go with only 4 minutes left into too much detail on our 10-year plan, I think that gives a flavour of it.
And then what employee benefits are offered at Mishcon, and what type of events do the company hold for employees to socialise?
Good question. So on the benefit side of things, you will get your salary, which we talked about. You'll obviously get all of your study, everything will be paid for. You'll get pension, got a very good pension scheme. You will receive, we've got a whole benefits range of options that you can choose, but you get things, you can apply for things like life insurance and critical illness cover. We have a wellbeing fund, so every individual will get a wellbeing fund, which is £350, which you can use every year towards whatever you want, whether that's gym membership or yoga classes or meditation or I don't know, getting some massages, whatever will help you and your well-being. And I mean, yeah, the benefits portal is vast and there are so many opportunities. Oh, also obviously we've got private health insurance, which everyone gets, and if you have a family, then obviously your family will get supported as well. So yeah, loads of opportunities. And I think, Alyssa, you mentioned earlier about the season ticket. So if you have to travel in to work, and you know, some point in the future when we're allowed to, the firm will offer a loan to help fund for that season ticket. We've got the kind of cycle to work schemes. So yeah, loads and loads of other benefits. I don't know, Alyssa, if I've missed any of the big ones out.
That's most of them, yeah. And then someone just asked about sports clubs actually, and yes, we do have different kind of sports clubs that you can get involved in probably once we're a bit more sort of back into the office. I know we've only got a few more minutes, but
and about the courses.
Yeah,
sorry, you asked about the courses as well. So I just wanted to quickly mention that we've got an academy, and the academy, as I mentioned before, looks after all our learning and development, and there are so many courses on there. You just don't have enough hours in the day to be able to attend them all, and they're not just legal courses. The vast majority of them are just getting really interesting people in, or controversial people. We had Piers Morgan in a couple of weeks ago, did a talk. We had Harriet Harman in this week, who's from Labour Party. So we have politicians, we have celebrities, we have sports people, we have people at the top of their game in law, in business. And there's so many talks and courses and opportunities available. It's an amazing part of what we offer at Mishcon.
And then I don't think we'll have time to come to all the questions. So if we haven't answered yours, then feel free to email us afterwards. But just one last question. Do we give any particular support for people who live far away from London and may struggle to travel to the workplace?
So we don't, so the only thing that we offer at the moment is that support for accommodation. If you want to move down to London, then obviously the University of Law will help, and we can support in terms of pointing in the direction of how to find kind of affordable accommodation in London. At the moment, we don't have kind of travel bursaries, something we're looking into, but it's not available at the moment. But yeah, if you've got any, if you live far away and you're concerned about this, then please do just get in touch. We're happy to have a conversation and talk you through all the different options that would be available to you. Call it a day there, shall we?
Yeah.
I hope that is, I'm sorry, I don't know how many questions have been coming through, but I hope that some of your questions were answered. But thank you so much, everyone who is still on, which looks like almost all of you, which is great. I hope you found it useful. I really hope that we'll see you, your name on an application form in the next few weeks. Please do get in touch if you have any questions with the early careers team. You can get our website, get our email on the website. And just a reminder, this session is also being recorded and will be on our website in the next, tomorrow or Monday. So if you want to watch any of it back again, if there are any bits that you missed, then feel free to do so. But thank you everyone so much for coming along, and I hope you have a good evening.
Thanks everyone.